We are now going to have a flag ceremony, which will be presented and culminate in the raising of the flag over here at the flagpole by Sherman Rock. This flag ceremony is a celebration of our country and our freedom. There are a couple of ways that you might observe this. Proper decorum would be to face the flag, remove your hat, and place your hand over your heart. Or, if you prefer, there are other ways to express your freedom in this time. You may kneel or sit as you choose or are comfortable to do. And with that, I want to begin the flag ceremony.
Color Guard, attention. Color Guard, advance. Color Guard, halt. Color Guard, about face. Scouts and audience, please join us for a Pledge of Allegiance. Scouts in uniform may place, and other uniformed personnel may may salute the flag. All others are encouraged to place their hand over the chest. With me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under law, with liberty and justice for all. The U.S. flag that is single, detachment. Post the colors on the flagpole. Scouts and audience, salute the flag. Color Guard, and salute. 2. Color Guard, about face. Detail, forward march. Color Guard, forward march. Color Guard, halt. Color Guard, dismissed. Audience, at ease. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Isn't it a beautiful day in Seattle? Are you ready for the Huskies and the Seahawks this weekend? Come on, folks. Are you ready for football this weekend? You know, it is an honor to be here to celebrate the 75th anniversary of Camp Long. And as somebody who grew up in West Seattle and Alki, it is always an honor to be back in what I still think is the best part of Seattle. So there mustn't be anyone here from West Seattle. You know, our park system is an incredible, incredible gift to this city. Those who created it reached out to the Olmsted brothers, and today, you know, all these years later, almost 150 years later, we have over 400 parks. And our parks play a very, very important part in making sure that we deal with equity in our communities. It is often the only place that young people and seniors have to recreate outside and use our community centers. So I think it's very, very important that we as a city recognize and preserve our parks for what they were meant to be. Places for everyone in the city to enjoy the outdoors safely. Everyone to be able to use our community centers safely. So I want to thank everyone, particularly the Seattle Parks Department, who puts in so much work to make sure our park system is as great as it is. And Camp Long, of course, is no different. In 1937, this forgotten corner of a golf course became what it is today. A place where young people, and not just young people, come and learn about the outdoors, test their skills, and learn how to grow. And you know, we were actually able to use our program this summer, Equity in the Environment, where we were developing young leaders, and they were part of the ROPE program, which I understand is the only type of program in the nation. They were able to involve themselves in that program, and as a result of the leadership skills they developed here, every single one of them got one of the summer jobs in the city of Seattle. So congratulations to those young people and to everyone here at Camp Long who made that possible. So I know they told me I could talk for 5 or 10 minutes, but I can see that people actually want to eat and enjoy the activities. So with that, thank you for being here. Let's look forward to the next 75 years of Camp Long. And now I'm going to introduce to you the Superintendent of Seattle Parks, a leader in the environment and outdoors and in recreation, Jesus Aguirre.
So that means I get an extra 5 minutes because the mayor was short. So I'll be very brief. I want to just thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank all of you for being out here today. You know, at Parks and Recreation, I love to run around and talk about what a great job I have. I feel really lucky to work in such a fantastic city and a fantastic system. Part of the reason this is a great city is because we do have a great Parks and Recreation system. 6,300 acres of open space and green spaces. 465 individual parks, and yet we still, every time I drive around, I get completely blown away by the uniqueness of some of our parks, and Camp Long really is one of the most unique parks we have in the system. 68 acres in the middle of one of the fastest growing cities in the country. It's pretty impressive. You know, when we talk about Parks and Recreation, the work that we do, we really try to focus on 3 things as we look to contribute to help people be successful in this great city. One of them is just to get people healthy. The other is to keep our environment healthy, and then the third is to build strong communities, bring us all together. And Camp Long is a perfect example of all 3 of those. Whether you like to hike or just be out in the green space contemplating, we have a lot of programming for our kindergarten through 12th grade students, working closely to get them exposed to the environment. And then, of course, as we build strong communities, one program I'm really proud of, it's been going on now for 5 years, is we do a free overnight immersion camp for residents and families of the High Point Seattle Housing Association. It's a great success. So it's really, really exciting to have that here in the middle of Seattle. And then finally, I just wanted to announce and congratulate all the staff at Parks and Recreation. Sheila Brown, who's here, I think Rebecca Carlson and Kelly Guy, who oversee our recreation programs, and all of the folks who work here, all the folks wearing yellow t-shirts, working and volunteering. Thank you for all of that. But we're very excited. Camp Long received one of only 15 grants across the country this year from the National Recreation and Parks Association and the Disney Company to continue the great work of bringing and connecting young people to this fantastic facility. So we're going to serve 400 underserved youth here, and they're going to be able to do things like rock climbing and hiking and some really creative service learning projects. So we're really excited to continue that work there. So again, welcome to Camp Long. Thank you so much for helping us celebrate this historic 75th anniversary of what really is one of the jewels of the Parks and Recreation system here in Seattle. Thank you. I think I broke the speaker.
There's a long and rich history of events here at Camp Long over 75 years. The way it came to be is a fascinating story. It's got some hook and some crook and a couple things in between. There's a long-running presentation happening up in the main lodge if you wanted to see some of that history, both in photograph and in text. But maybe we can learn a little bit more about it now from Southwest Historical Society Executive Director Clay Eels.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. My name's Clay Eels. I'm the Executive Director of the Southwest Seattle Historical Society. And we've had some other Historical Society members here today. We've got a board member, Jenny Bodnar, here. I am thrilled to be here as part of the celebration because of the exhibit that we were able to put together over the past 9 months up in the lodge. If you have not seen it, please go up there and take a look at it. There is information that has not been uncovered before, and it comes not only from the city archives, but also from the National Park Service and University of Washington Special Collections and the Seattle Municipal Archives. I have a few people to thank. Sheila Brown has been mentioned. What a wonderful champion of this park Sheila has been. Please give it up for Sheila Brown. We would not be here today without her, day in, day out, a true champion of this park. We have to thank other people because it takes a village. It is true, it takes a village. People who helped with the exhibit back up there are Lowell Skoog of the Mountaineers, Jeannie Willett Murphy of the Education Wing of Camp Long, Tiffany Hedrick of the city. And then we have an intern for us who unfortunately is not here today, Cleone Adams, who did the research for this exhibit, and then volunteer Bob Carney, standing right over here. What a stalwart for decades and for history of this area of West Seattle. And of course, the funding for this came from the Office of Arts and Culture of the city, which really recognized the unique parts of the artwork and the poetry of Clark Sherman himself, the namesake of Sherman Rock. So please go up to the exhibit. And I can't let go here without saying what I say almost everywhere, which is that we are gathered here today for a variety of reasons. Some of us live here in West Seattle. Some of us are coming here because we've been here before. Some of us lived here and then are coming back. But it doesn't matter what all those reasons are. What lies in common with everybody here is that we are here because, not because of us, but because of what other people built before us. We stand on the shoulders of giants, literally. Think about this. Think about the vision that it took to set aside this land as a park 75 years ago. Think about when all of us are gone, the fact that this park will still be here serving kids and families. It is truly a legacy. And I really agree with you, Mr. Mayor, Ed Murray, when I say that West Seattle is indeed the best Seattle. Thank you all for being here today.
I just have a quick question. There's a number of people milling about, and I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Deborah Juarez, here today? All right. Excellent. And so now our next speaker is the Yosemite National Park Chief of Staff, Mike Gauthier.
Hi, everyone. Actually, I was born in Bremerton, Washington, so I'm not just some guy from Yosemite. I like to put a little bit Northwest flavor. I mean, and all those kids out there with the marshmallows, how are the marshmallows going? Who likes the marshmallows here? Who's had a marshmallow? Everybody's had a marshmallow. Raise their hands. Who's had a hot dog? Awesome. It's a pleasure to be invited up back to the Pacific Northwest. I am from the Olympic Peninsula, which is kind of like maybe better than West Seattle. It's a little bit more West Seattle. It's like a little bit more west. And so I just want to own that for a bit. I'm a University of Washington grad, but mostly I worked at Mount Rainier for almost 20 years as a climbing ranger. And so who here has climbed Mount Rainier? Raise your hand. And who out there in the audience thinks they want to climb Mount Rainier, of the scouts and whatnot that I see, kids? Who's interested in climbing it? Okay, very good. I want to talk a bit about that and about Clark Sherman, which is part of what Camp Long is about. I wrote something. I'll try to keep it interesting for everybody, but I want to provide a little bit of historical context. You know, Clark Sherman and Camp Sherman kind of go hand in hand. For those who climbed on Mount Rainier, on the Emmons-Winthrop Glacier, you'll pass a place called Steamboat Prow on the northeast face, okay? The southwest base of that prow is a climbing camp and a ranger hut. The ranger hut is a corrugated metal shelter and encased in masonry, and it sits upon a thin ridge that cleaves two of the largest glaciers on Mount Rainier. So try to imagine that. That's where this Camp Sherman is. The hut provides a small refuge from the crevasses in the sea of clouds and the tempest that often blows through. It's an easy place in which to become enchanted, and if the weather is agreeable, you will find it that way yourself. Named Camp Sherman, it's in honor of Clark Sherman. And for those who aren't aware, Clark Sherman was an integral figure in the formation of this camp, and some of his artwork is in display up in the lodge. I suggest you check it out. He was the head guide of the Mount Rainier Company from 1939 through 1942. Until the war got going, they ended guiding. As the head guide, Sherman was noted for his contemporaries for his military style discipline, but he's most regarded and remembered for his artwork and his poetry. During those years, Sherman provided evening programs in the basement of the guidehouse at Paradise. Who's been to Paradise, Washington offhand? You guys seen the guidehouse? So they used to show slides then, and what Clark would do is he would literally have a younger guide would illuminate these panels, and they would reflect on the wall, much like a basic PowerPoint, but that's how they would inspire clients and attract people to go hike and see the Paradise Ice Caves, to see the Paradise Meadows, and to hike up to Camp Sherman. So that was the early way they got people interested in guiding. He also developed a Morse code system where they would develop communication from high up on Mount Rainier, 11,000 feet, all the way down to base camp. And they would signal if they had needs like water or bring gasoline up, or maybe there was an emergency rescue. But basically, Clark used these programs in his poetry to inspire people to spend time outdoors. So it's tremendously reflective and important, and it's great for us to recommit to our acknowledgement that arts and parks go hand in hand together here 75 years after the formation of this park. You know, after Clark Sherman left Mount Rainier, he did basically commit himself to the Boy Scouts and in his attempt to basically improve the opportunities for kids in Seattle to have mountaineering and outdoor experiences. Over to our left over here is what used to be called Monitor Rock, which is now called Sherman Rock. It was designed as the first climbing wall in America. It was built in the 40s. It was modeled by clay originally, and then it was developed into a climbing rock that people could use to explore their skills and test their skills in a safer environment called Monitor Rock, because they were technically able to monitor the progress of climbers on it. So today, 75 years later, I'll just say that, you know, the National Park Service, I normally wear a flat hat and a grand green uniform for the National Park Service, and we're celebrating our 100th anniversary this year, which is, thank you. So I hope that you take your time to visit all the parks in the Pacific Northwest, Olympic National Park, North Cascades, the Seattle Klondike site in downtown Seattle. If you haven't been there, I strongly recommend you check it out. And Mount Rainier, of course, and Lake Roosevelt in eastern Washington. Check out these Park Service sites. We're celebrating our 100th anniversary. And I'll just say, with Camp Long in 75 years, I don't know if it's in the plans, but the idea of maybe a box buried, like a time capsule to reflect upon this moment, might be nice for 75 years from now when people come back. And like Clark Sherman, I'm gonna be joining you guys at 3 o'clock up in the main hall. I'll be showing slides of Mount Rainier, hopefully inspire you to climb the mountain, to learn more about its trails. And so come and get a Clark Sherman experience to some degree much later. And I'd love to talk about Mount Rainier. I will quickly close by saying I have climbed it over 180 times. And that and 5 pennies gets me a nickel at any bank. And but I do like to talk about Mount Rainier. I like to talk about our national parks. And I mostly am really thrilled to celebrate the fact that today that we still connect the importance of parks, how they are a democratic institution that equals a playing field for what we all have, you know, available to us. And Seattle's commitment to the mayor, I want to really thank you for continuing to empower your parks, to support your parks. They're very important for the community, much like libraries, much like other institutions like that. And they're needed, and it's fun to be here at Camp Long today. So thank you for having me.
Okay, what we really need is a new podium. I just have so many people to thank. There are a lot of partners here. There's the national parks, there's the National Forest Service, we have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, we have the Baden-Powell Scouting Association, who all together put on the flag ceremony. And we're very grateful for that. They're also, I'm just, you know, all of this that they're offering for, you know, sawing logs and doing hot dogs on the fire, and that is just really fun, and they have a lot of activities, so you got to go check them out. Also, I really want to thank Mountain Madness and Mark. You're the one who really brought in Mike and really put on a lot of effort to get this word out that we're having this 75th anniversary, and that we could gather some of the old climbers and some of the people who've been here for a long time or haven't been here for a long time. So I'm really grateful for them. Also, I wanted to mention that WSU 4-H is a key partner of ours to run the challenge course, and we're really grateful for them to help us build the challenge course. I think it's a great addition to add to our climbing, and it's a leadership and team building effort, and we really need support from everyone to keep our programs going. So any way that you would like to help, feel free to contact me. And then also we have a lot of volunteers that do nature interpretation, and they're down at the far end of the park, our Seattle Urban Nature Guides. And then there's the various climbing gyms like Seattle Bouldering Project and the Vertical World. And so we, I'm going to forget somebody. Let's see. The Falconer, who's up at the West Shelter, and Nature Consortium, who helps us put on our Arts and Nature Festival every year, and also the Longfellow Creek that runs through here, our watershed educator who disappeared. I don't know where she is. There she is, Cheryl Shapiro, who used to work here for years trying to educate us on Longfellow Creek. And then outdoor opportunities. If you're a teen in Seattle and you want to do outdoor things, Camp Long is a place to start. And then outdoor opportunities can take you all over the Northwest, and they will go to the national parks. So if you want to go on excursions, if you're not in a scouting troop, you can join us here at Camp Long. We have an outdoor opportunities group. And that Southwest Historical Society really couldn't have done all of the historical exhibit is so wonderful, and it wouldn't have happened at all without their help. And I think that's everybody. Oh yes, and Ranger Rick. They are key players in our campouts with the High Point. So the National Wildlife Federation have been, it was them that actually helped us start it, because they have an annual event called the American Backyard Campout. And that's how we started the High Point Campout, so that we could give people opportunities who have never been camping before, especially even though they're 3 blocks away, they've never been here. And they got introduced, and then they built community. I don't know if you've been camping, but it's a great way to build community. Stories by the fire, eating together, going, singing songs. And I am so grateful also that we had the music that we had from Brazil. I myself grew up partly in Brazil, and it was the Olympics this year, so I thought it was so appropriate. So I'm so really glad that they were able to come. So thank you all. We really appreciate your coming. Thanks for everyone's help, and we hope to see you next year. And let me give you to our Camp Long Advisory Council member just to close out the speeches.
Thank you. And that was Sheila Brown, the director of Camp Long. She's great. Yay! I do want to thank everyone for being here today. If you look around the park, what you'll see is a lot of folks that are about this tall. And that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish here. The goal of the Advisory Council of Camp Long is to introduce our youth to the natural environment, and specifically to do so in a way that provides them with an exploratory learning experience, that they can get outside, be in the woods, and learn what that's like. If you are thinking to yourself, now what I really want is to join an advisory council where I can dress up as an old-timey mountain climber guy, we have that opportunity, that's here. But really what we do, at the heart of what we do, is we introduce our youth to the outdoors through grants, through opportunities to take them on classes, to programming, all of the various elements that we can to get them outside in nature and their hands in the dirt. So if that's something that's of interest to you, and I hope it is, we do have positions open on the Advisory Council. Come and talk to me or Sheila or any of the other Advisory Council members that you're aware of, and we'll tell you really a little more about what we do and how really it's not that much that we're asking of you as an individual. Sorry. So, hey, it's the 75th birthday party of Camp Long. Birthday parties without cake and ice cream are kind of lame, so we bought one. Yay! Grace, another Camp Long Advisory Council member who is, yay, awesome, has cake and ice cream for you. Everyone, go grab some cake, enjoy, and thanks for being here outside today. Oh, hey, one more thing. 3 p.m. up in the main lodge, where I'm sure you're going to want to see that really cool historical presentation. Mike Gauthier, who spoke just a moment ago, is going to be showing a slide presentation. I'm sure it's going to be really, really fabulous. So go check that out too. 3 o'clock, main lodge, cake now. Yay! All right, thanks everybody!
For kids in nature. Mayor, would you like a piece?
Sure.
Excellent. Would you like some of that specially made Camp Long s'mores ice cream from Husky Deli?
That was a good save there,
the mayor.
Grace.
So support your local when you can, and when, you know, and Costco's local, so we have a backup. We do.
Thank you.
So anybody wants some clouds here? Thank you for your patience.
Here, try this.
This is s'mores. Just start and putting spoons in it. No, you're gonna have to back up. You got a spoon here, a spoon. There you go. Okay, did you have gotten one yet?
No.
Here we go. Let's do one more here.
Try this here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Mayor.
Okay. And this is just ice cream if you just want ice cream.
I got a spoon.
You got a spoon.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Here, I'm going to stick with these
Thank
out.
you.
People can do it themselves.
There you go. Excellent.
Such a cool cake.
Isn't
Yeah, I
it?
can't wait to try.
Yeah, stuffed cakes, 35th and Henderson, I believe.
Okay, that's
Right across from the library there?
Yeah, that's right by my house.
Well, there you go. Grab a spoon.
Got a spoon here. That'll be cool. I can.
Can you? Sure. Do you want to start serving from the chocolate cake if somebody wants it?
Sure.
Because,
Please. Good for you.
thank you. I think we're going to go through this cake. Don't you?
There was a summer job posted in the Health, PE, and Recreation Department at the University of Washington, where I was enrolled after I came back off of active duty. And it was a summer position here, and it turned out that it ended up about, I think, 3 or possibly 4 summers. And it was a great experience, and interestingly, the couple who were the residents here had just gotten out of the military, and they were new here, so we kind of learned together as we worked around the camp, and I'm just amazed at how well it's been preserved and maintained. I think it's just incredible that the thing is still going with all the problems with public places being kind of mistreated, and so it's just great to see this. And after I finished my 3 or 4 summers here, we had 5 sons, and so they all came here as Cub Scouts and as Boy Scouts. So it's and it's been a long time since I've been back. I go up down 35th a lot, but just have never turned in. And I was just impressed with the turnout today. I think it was just fabulous.
What were some of your favorite places in the park to show people?
I think Sherman Rock is always an attraction for everybody, but the cabins where the overnights are held, I think always attracted a lot of people because they just didn't realize that there were those kinds of facilities here, and just the fact that it's the setting in a highly densely populated area, it just a wonderful jewel sitting just off of a main thoroughfare that virtually 90% of the people who probably go up and down the 35th Avenue Southwest have probably seen the sign but have no idea what's really here. The originator, or the namesake, Judge William Long, who was a juvenile court judge, and he put together the proposal and saw it come to fruition and he's the namesake for that facility. Mr. Sherman, kids had a lot of different impressions of him because he was a pretty crusty old guy, and a lot of kids early on had a difficult time dealing with Mr. Sherman, but they realized that he really had a lot to say with it. But as far as other people that were here, my 3 summers, most of them were kids that were here in day camps or overnights. So I didn't know a whole lot of people who, namesake kind of people that were here. The Whitaker kids, both of them were a couple of years ahead of me at West Seattle, and they grew up down on in Fauntleroy, and I grew up in Gatewood, so we knew one another from those kinds of exposures. And then Omi Diber, who was a mountaineer, his namesake is, or not namesake, but he's famous as a mountain climber, and he was a student at West Seattle when my folks were there in the late 20s. So he's another big climber, and they were both involved, and I know that they've been to Sherman Rock a number of times. Omi's daughter Gretchen was a counselor for me and an instructor for me in the Highline Summer Gym Camp program that I was involved in for about 15 years. So those are a couple of other names that you brought up.
We're standing right next to Sherman Rock. Talk a little bit about what makes Sherman Rock so special to you.
Well, I think the fact that it's survived, first of all, and that it's been a challenge. You see the same kinds of challenges to the youngsters that are there and the older folks that are taking a look at it. And I think probably just the fact that, as far as I know, it was really a groundbreaking kind of a facility that most places didn't, they just didn't, had never even thought of having, let alone putting together the resources to build it and to staff it, because the staffing is the real secret to it, because the safety of the climbers is paramount, and it's just a great attraction and a great challenge, because it provides most of the different kinds of situations that a mountain climber is going to face, other than the ice and the snow.